Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Crypto Atlas. In today's episode, we will be talking about Bitcoin, Orchid as usual, and surprisingly, we're actually going to talk about NuCypher again because it did have another day of good movement once more. And so we're going to be going over different news articles going on primarily with Bitcoin, looking at the technical analysis charts. Just so you guys know, I'm not a financial advisor, so the things that I'm sharing with you are my own opinion, as well as news articles, just gathering them. I always encourage you guys to go and do more research, check out other people's content, get more than one opinion. If you need any recommendations, I got some other channels that I really like listening to, and I've been able to learn a lot from them as well. And yeah, if you guys are new, feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up, like button if you guys haven't yet already done so. It takes that much time. It helps this video grow, helps our channel grow, shows me that you do appreciate the time that I'm taking at the very least to try and put this together and get these ready for you every single day. I hope you guys do enjoy the content. Click that bell notification so you know whenever there's a new video on time so you can stay up to date. And let's get into the actual news. First up, the American heartland needs jobs. Could Bitcoin mining become its next savior? One of the key takeaways from this for you to guys keep in mind is that China is leading in this field, which I'll show you in just a second. So this is an American-based company. Excuse me for that sound in the background. That was the dryer, so apologies. A startup called Core Scientific announced this week that it has raised $23 million to expand its cryptocurrency mining operations. The company, based in Bellevue, Washington, is already running crypto mines in North Carolina, Georgia, and Kentucky, and plans to open more before long. All right. So we scroll on down here. While there are other mining operations around the globe, China remains far and away the leader, as can be seen in this chart from the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance. I mean, just look at this. There's nothing. You could take all the other countries, United States, Russia, Kazakhstan. That's interesting. I didn't know mining was so prevalent there. Malaysia, Iran, Canada, Germany, Norway, Venezuela. You combine everything together, and it's still not even going to push 50% because China owns 30 or 65% of the whole mining system, right? So the fact that an American company is looking to try and become more dominant in this space, it's going to start to shift it. And that's actually good news for China as well because it strengthens the whole network. The last thing you want to do is to have someone in China start to manipulate it because it's not like everyone in China is going to benefit from it. Only some people would. So the people that aren't going to benefit from that, they don't want to lose money either, right? So it is important that you diversify across the world. One of the key elements of Bitcoin is decentralization, so having it too centralized is obviously a problem. In the case of Core Scientific, it has struck arrangements for cheap power across 5 sites, spanning over 100 acres in total, in Dalton, Georgia, Marble, North Carolina, and Calvert City, Kentucky. The firm has also cut deals with Chinese manufacturers to get first dibs on the newest mining rigs and plans to mine not just Bitcoin, but so-called altcoins like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Zcash, and Ethereum. Let us know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. Next up, investment icon Rick Edelman owns Bitcoin and Ethereum, says XRP is part of technological revolution. Let's go ahead and move on with the quote. I began with Bitcoin in 2014 and it was an academic exercise. I want to open up a Coinbase account, see how this works. I want to buy a Bitcoin and see and just learn. I did that for a bit of time and began to, as my research continued, my conversations with so many in the crypto space evolve, began to realize there really is a there. There is not just a beanie baby. I increased our exposure with my wife, Jean, and expanded into Ethereum. I am as excited about that, frankly, as I am Bitcoin for totally different reasons, and this is something that we are not talking about Coke and Pepsi. We're talking about two fundamentally different aspects of this technological revolution. One thing that I think is important to go ahead and note, though, too, is that one of the biggest identifiers for Ethereum is the fact that it has the utilization of smart contracts, and with some of the new advancements in technology and the coding itself regarding Bitcoin, smart contracts are beginning to play more of a role with that. Bitcoin does have that definitive maximum supply. Ethereum 2.0 is involving the staking mechanics, though. So there are some things that causes differences between the two, but not everything is fundamentally different, right? So there are some similarities. I can understand him saying Coke and Pepsi because that's literally both sodas. But there are some things that they have in common. It's not like one is a soda and the other is a pizza, right? Okay, now another Bitcoin Wall Street legend has changed his tune on Bitcoin. This is interesting. Now, after warning last month that Bitcoin could soon be outlawed, Ray Dalio, the legendary Bitcoin founder and co-chairman of the world's biggest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, has admitted Bitcoin's now established itself as a gold-like asset alternative. Wow. Tune changes pretty quickly in the space, right? So then next thing you know, you got, I think that Bitcoin and some other digital currencies have over the last 10 years established themselves as interesting gold-like asset alternatives with similarities and differences to gold and other limited supply, mobile, unlike real estate, storeholds of wealth. Dalio posted a social news website Reddit in response to a question asking whether Bitcoin could help combat the U.S. wealth inequality that may have been exacerbated by central bank stimulus measures. All right. Dalio, who sought to have a personal fortune of almost $17 billion, according to Forbes estimates, is the latest big-name investor to name Bitcoin as a potential investment. Wall Street legend Bill Miller said he strongly recommends Bitcoin in November, shortly followed by billionaire U.S. investor Stanley Druckenmiller, who revealed he now owns some Bitcoin, saying he's warmed up to the cryptocurrency as a store of value, right? That's also interesting to note too, is warming up to the idea of it as a store of value. A lot of people, especially in the gold space, they're just totally against the idea of Bitcoin as a store of value. Sorry, Peter Schiff, but you got bigger name people that are more wealthy that are looking at it and they're saying, I acknowledge it is this, right? Next up, bullish divergence. TD9 signal a buy aligned for a new Bitcoin relief rally. So this buy signal that's being shown, the TD9. A bullish divergence is a technical pattern that revolves around the relative strength index. This is also known as the RSI. The RSI is a momentum indicator that gauges whether an asset is overbought or oversold. So more specifically, as you guys can see on this chart right here, down in this lower section, you have this yellow line. So if it goes below this 30 range, which I know you can't quite see right here, but if it goes below that 30, the 30 range on the RSI, then it's considered to be oversold. If it goes above the top of this dotted line, that means it's overbought. So you have an average, the relative strength of everything that's going on, right? Okay, so what's happening here is you're seeing a decline from the RSI on the top, and on the bottom, it's forming new higher lows, okay? So on the top, going across here, going down, and then essentially on the bottom formation, it is going in an upwards trajectory position, as you guys can see more as I scale back, going back from like a September 3rd perspective right there. Okay. Now, we all know that we have a beautiful confirmed oversold bullish divergence with RSI. RSI is currently pushing against descending resistance. If it pushes through, price should follow up. No intention of closing my long for now. A pseudonymous trader known as Crypto ISO emphasized that the TD9 buy signal is indicative of an overextended sell-off. TD9, short for Tom Denmark 9, is an indicator that also measures whether an asset is overbought or oversold, similar to the RSI. A TD9 buy signal emerges when the past 9 candles are all lower than the 4 candles prior. Okay. Almost no one in crypto understands multi-trillion-dollar potential of Bitcoin and altcoin markets, says Raoul Pal. Okay, so the idea of Bitcoin hitting $50,000. Some people say, no, that's totally unrealistic. That's never going to happen. 20K is like the peak. You got those people, okay? You also have people 5-10 years ago that said $1. Or, well, not 5 years ago, but 10 years ago, $1, that's not realistic. $100, that's not realistic. 1,000, 10,000, right? And we keep passing those milestones. And so you look at the market cap, the total evaluation, for this to hit $1 trillion space, now we're going into territory more dominant with that of gold and showing a lot more of an investment, again, as a store of value from the perspective side of investors. So this is very interesting. I'm just going to highlight a couple, or I already did highlight a couple of the key things with this that he's talking about. But you look at all the potential markets and how much money is being put into these different positions and how, if those moved away from that into Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin's price, the market cap itself as well, would go up exponentially from where it currently is. Almost no one in crypto understands the size of financial markets. It is never, ever going to be winner takes all. It is near impossible, as each blockchain has its limitations and trade-offs, and that suits the complexity of the financial world. The future is a super network of blockchains, with the most pristine being Bitcoin, and the risk curve moves out from there. Any other outcome accruing to one winner is nothing but false hopes and dreams. This is why I care about the entire DA space. There will be many enormous winners, many failures, many scams, many false dawns, but in the end, trillions and trillions of value will accrue across digital assets, tokens, protocols, and crypto that tie all of this together. The settlements layer is over $4 quadrillion per annum. The derivatives layer is another 1.2 quadrillion, right? I mean, he says other things in here too. The size of the global custody system is $23 trillion and yada, 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 yada. $260 trillion right here, total global debt market. There's so much that goes into play with this of potential money that could be reallocated into its position. Something also interesting to note, Cameron Winklevoss had tweeted this out. He said there are 3.5 billion smartphones on the planet. All of them can hold Bitcoin. None of them can hold gold. Bitcoin is the future, right? So this is really interesting because you see some people are disagreeing with this statement here. You have someone right here that says there are 3.5 billion smartphone users in the world. Some have more than one phone. Let's say, for argument's sake, there are 3.8 billion then. Is that more accurate? Anyways, so the point with this is that not everyone actually owns gold, and it's not easy to trade when you're trying to take your brick and doing business with somebody across seas, and you're using that as your form of payment, right? And so the thing is that you have a lot of countries, and I've talked about this in previous videos, that have smartphones. They have access to internet now, which is interesting when you think about it, but they don't have a bank account. I mean, really let that settle in. There's places in Latin America and South Africa that literally will have a phone and have internet access, but they don't have a bank account. I know that sounds bizarre, but that's the reality of other parts of the world. And so something like Bitcoin as a store of value, as a digital means of exchange, as a form of payment, it makes a lot more sense. And it's very promising to especially developing countries to suit their needs. Okay, now looking at the charts here. We're moving pretty good with our time. This might be a bit of a shorter video than normal, but it is what it is. Nothing bad with that, right? Just add a nice little happy tree on the side. Okay, so we're starting to see some red bleeding into the market right now. Yesterday was a very nice green daily candle pushed above the 21 EMA. So that nice formation right there has now established us back into a more bullish position. Keep in mind that I tend to look at it as a position of trends where you need to have 2 or 3 at least positioned in before you actually say that this is the actual pattern. So we had the last 2 days, these were in the red. It's pretty strong, okay? But the strongest would be a third day. But that third day, guess what? Ended up flipping and going the other direction. So the strong indicators of a continuation, us being in a bear market, were invalidated because of that large green candle. But this could also be a fake out, which is why, again, you want to have something more realistic, something more stable, less risky. It's to have 2 to 3 days of establishment. So if we have another day that closes out, even if it's slightly in the red, if it stays above the 21 EMA, which is down at $18,351, right? As long as it stays above that, then we are still bullish. If the third day decides it wants to go green, or it goes a little bit more red, but it's still above that 21 EMA, then we're still technically bullish, and 3 days means that there's more likely to have that reversal and the price to have a further continuation up because of 2 days of correction, and the market just shows sentiment that like we are in this bullish point in time. Very interesting. I mean, obviously you can look at a lot of other technical charts and things, but as we talked about earlier with that bullish divergence that's taking place on the RSI, that's one leading indicator that people are looking at that suggests that like, hey, yeah, okay, we were oversold during this time period all the way down there, and then 2 other days of just massive declines. So it's gone down enough. Now it's time to rally and start working on the long positions, going back to the 20K. we'll have to see how this plays out. That level on the 21 EMA is very key. We do need to also break above the previous day position of $18,950. Really, we need to get above 18,885 first. As you guys can actually see, we bounced off of that today, and that was a bottom that was formed on multiple days, on December 3rd, on December 6th, and December 7th. So that is the most important point in time. You can even see right around here on November 26th, it was very close to that point. So if we can break above $18,900 and we go higher, we hit 19K, okay, we're looking pretty good again, especially on the daily close. That's very key. You could have fake outs going up above and then you think everything's fine. So that's why it's important to settle things down. But if you're playing the more risky game, well, there you go, guys. So it depends on when you want to enter into your position. That's totally up to you. I cover a lot of news and to try and keep things a little bit shorter. I don't really go into smaller time frame type things. I might sometimes, just a little bit, depending on how things are going. But yeah, those are two key levels that you guys should really be looking out for right now. Next up, looking over at Orchid. Orchid had a green candle. Guess what? I called it. You know why I called it like that? Was because looking at the decline from the $1 range, I looked at all the sequences of red candles and how many of them were consecutive. So we had tied the most number of days being in the red since the decline of the $1 price point for Orchid. And so it was more likely than unlikely that we would flip to a green candle. Unless it went to another day of red, then it would invalidate all the trend pattern that has happened since the $1 decline and now establish a new maximum daily decline, right? But every day of an extension of another red means even higher likelihood of it going green because it's just too out of the norm. So the expectancy, people start to flip. People feel like it's too oversold. People are like, hey, it's too low of a price point now. There's a lot of psychology that comes into it, obviously, and that's what the trend patterns are based on, is emotion. So here we are. We're now in a green candle so far. We're back inside of this symmetrical triangle pattern. We're still below the 21 EMA, so overall, the technical indicators still suggest this as being bearish. Keep that in mind. We're looking at it from more of a long-term perspective on this. It's still showing signs of being bearish. Till it breaks above that 21 EMA, I will remain to say that this is bearish. It is showing signs of recovery, and a further continuation is potential. We're starting to dip back into that consolidated rectangular box, which I've shown you guys for many episodes now. And if you want to check out my previous videos, I highly encourage you guys to do so, by the way, so that you get mostly the news information. If you just want news information and start hearing everything that's been adding up, because it's not just like what I tell you today for the news is all of the news, right? There's tons of other things that have been happening with this company and with that and that and that, and you start to get a much bigger picture. You can watch the beginning of each of my videos up until I get to the technical analysis. And then if you want to just skip and go to the next video, you can, right? That's one of the beautiful things of doing this kinds of stuff. But I have been researching this and doing a lot of looking into this. We've been very consistent and we've been very good on our calls with this. And I'm actually really happy. And it's actually nice to say that I feel proud of myself that everything I've been learning with technical analysis and crypto trading and all the time that I spent in this space is actually paying off. And I'm hoping that it's proving to be very valuable and helpful for you guys too. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but it's cool to actually see the education is paying off. It feels nice. And so anyways, guys, 0.2754 is the 21 EMA. That is the point of where we need to make sure that we can get above to have a further continuation rise up to try and get back to those previous high levels. 30 cents is going to be a key level. As of right now in the daily position, it's just under 30 cents for that top level of resistance. As of tomorrow, you're looking more around 29 cents. The next day is 28.71, etc., etc. We're not going to go too far in that. The RSI is actually showing just a little bit below the median zone, so it's more of an indication of it being oversold still, even with this previous day price rally that took place. If this declines back down, the level of support is at 0.2520. We need to make sure that we stay above that. We see lots of wicks that take place throughout this history with Orchid, especially since that decline with the $1 range. So if it's going to be a wick to the bottom, could be a long wick to the bottom and then a further body up. But a lot of times if this tries to rally up, it gets slammed back down. It can only happen so long until people say, like, now is an opportunity to just let it ride. Don't try to take your profits short here because too many people are coming in. It all depends on the market space, and especially if a couple whales start to push. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Lastly, let's go ahead and take a look now at NuCypher. So NuCypher on the daily has had another green candle. Looking at this in comparison with the Coinbase rally, we don't have a lot of references with this, guys, so do keep that in mind. And we have a break above the actual level of resistance that I had set up before, which was at the 0.2486 range. And now that that had actually broken way up above, it was trying to establish itself, but it did a full retracement all the way back below that level. So we do need to still try and break above that and close above that position. Don't get me wrong. But the next major level, which has been signified with 2 points of reference here, which is way stronger of a trend and actually like an indication of a trend, is going to be right here at 0.2705. So that's another level to really keep an eye out, as long as we can also stay above right here around 0.2100, 21 cents. We had a bounce off of on December 10th, then December 11th with its body position, the new daily candle formation right here. People are probably going to be taking and their profits right here. Some people, if you look at Twitter, a lot of people actually have been talking about moving their profits from Nu over to Orchid, OXT specifically. When I'm looking up stuff with OXT, I see tweet that's including OXT, but they're mentioning specifically about Nu, right? So the community space there, at least on social media, seems to be pretty closely tied, which I find interesting. I didn't even plan on that when I was doing these videos, and I talk about Orchid all the time. That's going to go ahead and do it for this video, guys. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are. Do you feel that this is going to have a further rally up? Do you feel that this is time for where it starts to have a cool down position itself? As it is right now, I believe it's more bearish. That's my personal opinion. It's going to have a daily close on the red, especially because in the massive rallies that just took place in the last 2 days. But we'll have to wait and see. And I appreciate all of you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hit that thumbs up like button once again. It really helps out this channel, the search and discoverability, our growth. It lets me know that you appreciate this, that you like this, that you learned anything from this whatsoever. And click the bell notification so you are alerted whenever there's a new video. Otherwise, YouTube doesn't really push these things to you. And let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next episode.